So
Screw
you want to
RNG.
hit the boss, da da da. You want to keep the tank alive, da da da. Well, you
Definitely
can't
mixed
do
part of that in.
both.
Wait, are we getting into burlesque now?
I'm leaving that in there. I'm totally leaving that in there. Hey, everybody. Sit down around the hearth, grab a frosty mug of ale. Welcome to the Lion's Pride Tavern, where we discuss all things Azeroth. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Lion's Pride Tavern, podcast number 34. Tonight, we're going to talk about our awesome raid weekend and even more on 7.2. But before all that, let's start off with introductions. I'm your host, Fafford. I play a Dwarven Beastmaster Hunter in the awesome game World of Warcraft. Next up is Jobui.
Hi, I'm Jobui. I play a Worgen Frost Mage.
And Lorelei.
Hi, it's Lorelei, your Night Elf Fury Warrior.
Epistle up north, where I'm sure it's turning green.
The weather report is cold and snowy, but I am Epistle Adrenai, protection pally who doesn't get frostbite even though I'm wearing plate all the time.
And Tapachino's with us tonight.
Hey, I'm Tapachino, your Night Elf Restoration Druid.
We have a full panel on with us tonight. It ought to be
That's
an
awesome.
exciting podcast. All right, so I just want to shout out to our Facebook page again. Guys, we've been getting a lot of visitors. So that was an awesome move on our part to bring up a Facebook page. So we all need to thank Donna Bell.
Yes,
Thank you, Donna.
Donna.
She
Thank
was the
you,
one that came
Donna.
up with that. She went, should we have a Facebook page? And I went, okay. So
We
yeah,
can do that?
check us out at facebook.com/Lions Pride Tavern and hit us up with questions right there. We'll bring them on the podcast. We'll bring them on air and see if we can answer them. What's really unique, guys, is I know it doesn't benefit all of you, but we got another fan to join our guild. So we're just going to have a whole guild full of podcast fans.
Nice.
That's cool.
I mean, this is like, I think number 4 or 5. So, and I'm
Wow.
still waiting on one more couple to switch over. They just haven't done it yet. So, yeah, awesome job. So you can also, hear us on YouTube, and you can watch Donna Bell's drawing of our featured tune. While she draws it, you can listen to the podcast, which is a pretty cool way of doing it. That's on our YouTube channel, and there's links everywhere. Just do a search for Lion's Pride Tavern Podcast, and it should pull up in YouTube without a problem. We're also on iTunes, Google Play, and Podomatic.com is our hosting site, where we have, what I've been trying to do is put the last 10 episodes on there, because we are limited on hard drive space with their server. But, and we're rapidly approaching our bandwidth every month too, so because we've got over 2,000 people listening to us, and a
Wow.
new one from the United Arab Emirates.
Oh my
Hey,
goodness.
welcome, yeah. So a lot of
Welcome.
people all over. All right, so Jobui, let's start us off with how we did on the raid this weekend. Unfortunately, I was not present on Friday, and neither was Mommy Fortino. We had an event that we had to attend, but start us off.
Friday night's raid went great. We were pushing forward our lockout this week because we've just run into a lot of gear that people just don't need so much anymore. So we pushed through, starting with from Trilliax, we went all the way through to Elisand. We didn't make an attempt on Gul'dan because we ran out of time, but it was a smooth run, and I think everybody had a good time. And we got some practice in. One note on that was we did practice on Croesus, the swirlies, and I think we got 3 rounds of the swirlies on the ground, and we only missed one of them the entire time. It was really, really solid work by everybody. And then came back on Saturday night, finished off Gul'dan, and then we took on some heroics and killed Scorpion, and then Chromatic Anomaly, Trilliax, and then we made some attempts on High Botanist, but fell short on High Botanist. I think topping out at about 30% health before things just kind of went wrong, and we got a little overwhelmed with the damage and number of plants that were spawning and that sort of thing.
One of the few times I don't like flowers.
Right.
Mm.
But I would say it was pretty darn good raid overall on this weekend. It was interesting to take on High Botanist and see that fight a little bit in Heroic. And be glad to get back in there next week to take on some more Heroic bosses.
So let's talk about the normal. So where did we stop our lockout at? What boss?
Well, we took the lockout through Trilliax, Spellblade, and High Botanist, leaving us with Croesus, Tichondrius, Star Augur, Elysion, and Gul'dan. So that leaves us with 5 normal bosses, which includes all of the tier bosses with the exception of Trilliax. But I don't think there's anybody who still needs the back piece really. Maybe Dizzy might need that back piece, but there are still plenty of other tier pieces left over. Everything except for the back. So yeah, we felt that was a pretty good starting point, especially considering how many of those bosses a lot of us don't need gear for, and also will give us a little bit more time to work on our heroics each week.
Very
As I
cool.
recall, someone was actually really excited because they were getting a whole bunch of gear that nobody else wanted and geared up really fast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he went up. I think he said something to the effect of, I think when he first came with us, he was somewhere around like 860-ish or something like that. And I think he said he was at like 885 or something, or 880 something. So he went up like almost 20 item levels from 1 or 2 raids with us.
Not a bad little boost.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
came
he
in at
was-
860. So
Well, and it's not like we needed the gear and it didn't go to waste. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Just to say, I just asked him, and he actually does have the tier back. The
Oh, he did?
Warforged
Cool.
version.
Yeah, he got it. Didn't he get it on heroic?
Yeah, he got it
Yeah,
on
it's
heroic, I think,
Warforged, yep.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause they've been
880.
talking about needing it on regular, and then it was like, well, we're gonna skip that one, but we got it. It dropped for him on heroic. So
That's
that was
right. That was
perfect.
the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. He was the only
And-
one that needed the back.
Yeah, I think we mentioned that too, that we're like, well, you have a good chance of getting in a heroic anyway, since you
Yep.
won't be able to get it on normal. But it worked out. There you go. He's got it already. So
So, just an interesting point because, I rated on Saturday, so I rated the heroic. But did you guys know, and maybe I just behind in the times, but did you know? So what happened was I got the tier back on
Mhm.
heroic, and I looted it, got it, and then I bonus rolled because I had a couple others that were higher for me, and I got the same piece. So I went, all right, I'm gonna play this smart. I'm going to put the bonus rolled one on, and that way I can give away the other one, right? That's what you'd think? You guys agree?
Yeah.
You
well,
would think so.
Would seem logical.
it seems logical, but I can see how it wouldn't.
It doesn't, because it's the exact same item level as the one you have on. It considers that still an upgrade, so I could not trade it.
I
Oh,
doubt that's
interesting.
why, actually. I bet the tradability is generated upon looting. And since you bonus rolled after you looted it, it probably wasn't tradable. And then if you were to loot another one that was identical, same item level, that would be tradable because when you looted it, it would assign it as tradable. I doubt it upgrades it to tradable if you were to like upgrade your gear suddenly. I bet it just takes a snapshot of your character as you loot it and decides if it's tradable or not.
That would make sense.
Really, you think
Um,
that's the way it works? That's
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
that's
at
what I
the
would
moment.
imagine.
At that moment, that was the best piece for you.
Yeah.
Now,
'Cause,
is
I
that
mean,
the way
otherwise-
it should work? That's a different question.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
but
if
Well,
you
the
think about it,
logistics, though.
yeah, like let's say we're doing a raid and I got a pair of let's say I got a back piece in the second boss, right? And then we go on and we kill the 5th boss and I get another back piece that is, another like a different the same item level or a different item level, but I haven't equipped the other one or something like that, and it would compare it. It could possibly turn that, or let's say the first one I get is an 885 and the second one I get is an 890. then it shouldn't turn that 885 that I looted earlier into a tradable one just because I got it in that raid because I got another one that's better. You see what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, but these were exactly the same from the same boss. One was
Right.
just a bonus.
But you got one first, is what I'm
Within
saying.
seconds as opposed to between bosses. I don't think it
Right.
would be unreasonable, though, to expect that if you had two of the same items drop on the same boss, that they could be tradable, but I don't think it would be an automatic assumption for programmers to put that in.
Right. I mean, I
Well-
could totally see the logic in going, yeah, it should do that, but it doesn't. Yeah, I can see why
Yeah.
it doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, maybe some of our fans out there, the same things happen. So shout out to us and let us know on our Facebook page if that's happened to you guys, or maybe you have the solution for us on why that happened. Because they're both 890s. Like I said, I put on the one just so I could trade the other. I don't know why it wouldn't have traded. It didn't have blue text, and I should have looked, but I just went, well, I didn't put that one on. I put the other one on, so I know I can trade it. But nope.
Hmm.
And I really apologized because we rolled on it, and the guy's like, all right, I got it. And I'm like, it won't trade. I don't get it.
Yeah. About that great piece of loot you're getting. No.
Yeah, sorry.
Well,
Psych.
but on the plus side, your mage tune for the lockout got a nice piece of gear.
That's true.
It actually had two when I logged into it.
Oh, really? There was two pieces
Yeah,
of gear.
there was another piece that they got. So
Oh,
I guess
nice.
I guess Tarog was hotboxing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
he was dual boxing that for sure.
I told my daughter, I say, okay, you can raid with us. You're gonna play my tune while we're not there. And then she ended up playing with her cousin and didn't play with us.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, we had we had plenty of jokes at your expense during the Friday
Oh,
night
I'm
raid.
sure. I'm sure. Was I how many times did I die?
Every time.
Every time.
I
Yep.
like that we left you on
Yeah.
the floor there for a long time. We just
Yeah,
kept
we
right
did.
on going.
There
Nice.
was one fight when Jirog is like, wow, I can't believe he lasted that long.
And the healers were like, "Oh well, we keep accidentally healing it."
Yeah, that's what it was. Oops. Wait, you're supposed to be dead.
Nice.
Hey, at least we didn't res you at all, though. I have to say that.
So my DPS wasn't that great, is what you're saying.
Yeah, no.
No, but you died about the same amount. No, just kidding.
We did talk about that during the raid.
And it didn't cost us any mana.
Yeah, right? Nice.
We missed you. We missed both of you. Not the same
Yeah,
without you.
I'm sorry. It only happens once a year, and it's required
Ah.
by work.
I had to move groups around. Oh, I had to move people around in groups, and I was like, "Oh, what is this other thing that I don't normally have to do that I have to do?"
And
But our
wait,
loot
just put
system
me
went faster.
outside. I want to come back in.
Yeah, it did. We did. The whispering thing did work faster. It did go quicker. I must admit, in Saturday night's raid, I just did have one screw up. As far as like people whispering me or me putting things up incorrectly or what have you. But all in all, it was much quicker to do the whisper me the stuff and then I'll put it up for rolls. It was also seemed to be less confusing too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tap
when-
had a good idea that she whispered me about, just putting a level cap on it, that anything 870 or below, don't even put up. If you want to
Yeah.
trade it with somebody later who sees it, then you can do it after the raid.
It just seems
Sure.
like nobody's going for that stuff, so why even post it and
Ah, sounds
take up
good.
that time, or 875 or whatever the case may be.
I could see
that
that.
makes sense.
I could see that with like normal pieces of gear, but I think for like tier trinkets and relics, those should
Yeah.
still go up if they're 875.
Mhm.
Yeah, yep, agreed. We could probably save a lot of time if we just cut out some of the stuff that basically people are just going to sell or DE. You might as well keep it,
Yeah,
and like you said with the relics and the the tier pieces and such. Go for it.
And the relics, or not the relics, but the tier pieces are usually pretty quick because, I mean, there's only like maybe a few people that would be eligible for those tier pieces. So
Right.
most of the time it's like, hey, do you guys need these? No? Okay, next
Right.
item.
And they're usually the people that do need them are watching for it.
Yeah.
They're like looking to see if it comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we did have one fan that commented because we asked last week, what do they do? So we had one fan, her name's Lilith Alou. She commented on the YouTube channel, and she said they do the same thing. They just have one person whisper, or, whisper to one person, and then while they're pulling trash, she'll organize it and then set it up. But she did mention there's an add-on called Personal Loot Helper. And what that does is it tells you who that item is an upgrade for, and what item level that person has in that spot. So
that could be helpful. I would imagine, but I imagine that it only works off of item level and nothing else, though. Probably.
Yeah,
Like not linked to pawn.
Right, it's not going to do stat weights, but it would do item level, at least to give us an indicator of like, hey, this person might be able to use this. Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually seen that used in different raids, and it is kind of nice. You can read to see if you need it or anybody else can see it. So it's not a bad add-on.
Does it shout it out, or does it just
puts it in chat?
It does. Okay.
Yeah, so, I know there's the one that when it's looted, it like announces it in the group, hey, this item could be an upgrade for so and so, and this person looted it. But I was hoping for one that like they would put them all in a list, like if they whispered it to me. In fact, I even thought about like trying to write one myself that when I get whispered loot items, it would put it in a list and show me like like organize it somehow, or click a button to post it to the raid for the role or something.
Yeah, maybe kind of like what Blizzard had. They had that little pop-up that would come up. Oh,
that'd be great if I could make a pop-up for loot rolls go up. Right? That would make it so much easier.
Any of you fans out there, if you're add-on makers, get with JobUI. I'm sure, you can email him. His email's on our link. Email him and ask, what specifically you'd want. And maybe
I'll even do the graphics for it. I'll do
there
the graphics
you go,
for
see? So thanks, Lilith, for shouting out to us and letting us know what you guys do. That was great. I appreciate that.
Yep, thank you, Lilith.
All right. So on last week's podcast, we said this week we would say how many times you died in WoW. And I'm going to start off because, now Fafford's not my original main tune. Okay. I made him because it was a buddy of mine had a hunter and I just went, oh, hunters look pretty cool. He's playing, it looks like fun. So I made him. My first one was Katina's, but I don't use her anymore as my main. I use Fafford. So I've only died 1,470 times and only 315 times in a raid/dungeon situation. So JobUI, how many times have you died?
Well, I as well. JobUI was not my first tune. He is my most played tune at this point, though. And I've died 2,952 times. So that's quite a lot, I think. Yeah. And in total deaths and raids is 918.
Okay. All right. Lorelei?
Well, I have died. This has been my main tune since I started playing, and I have died 12,192 times. 2 of those have been drowning, but I think I've done that more. And 160 from my falling damages. So I've faction changed a couple of times, and I've server changed a couple of times. So I think some things may have gotten thrown out. Not sure.
Yeah, that's one thing we were talking about prior to podcast is we're not really sure how that works, if the stats, and I don't know that the stats started when WoW started, because I know it was something they added later was the achievements, and that's when you could actually view the stats.
Oh, that's true too.
So it may not be from very start vanilla. I don't know. Maybe some of our listeners know. So, Epistle, you're up next.
I've died 1,500 times and a little bit extra than that. And more than a third of those were in raid and dungeons. So it says something pretty much about my tune, which is that, tanks don't die out in the wide world that much, relatively speaking. There's always something to keep you going. But yeah, most of it's been in raid. Of all those raid deaths, though, 3/5 of those, there was a druid rebirth. And 60 of those, I was brought back by, well, it says Death Knight, but I think it really means Darug.
And your druid
He's so
rebirths, I
nice
can
to
think of a
you.
few of those people.
More than a
Right?
few.
Tanking buddies.
Yeah, Durag is pretty quick at bringing people back. He's always got his stuff up there where he can go, oh, boom, bring you back up. He's done that to me a few times.
Yeah, especially if it's a fellow tank and you're feeling like, I don't want to get hit by everything.
All right, let's see if you can take the cake, Tapachino. How many deaths?
Well, not as many as Lorelei. I have had 7,902 deaths. Only one from drowning and having a water form. I'm actually kind of embarrassed by that one drowning, so I figured I was probably AFK, and I did not go into my form. Out of those, in raids and dungeons were 4,598. I guess it also shows you that when you are the healer, you are going to die probably a little bit more than if you're not the healer.
Well, you actually died more than the tank did.
Yes.
That's interesting. I thought. Now I know it didn't used to be true, but I knew it. It's true now that when you go from land to water and you go underwater, doesn't it automatically switch you?
It does now, yes. It's actually great for, for druids where depending on, you put your travel form on. So if you're traveling in the water, you're in your water form. If you jump out of the water and you can fly, you're in your light form. Or if not, that's not the case, then, your regular form or your stag form if you're on land. So it's actually pretty cool. You don't even have to think about it. You just, go where you go.
Now, does that
In
only
your
work
in
in
your
your travel
form.
form?
Yes, it only works if you put your travel form on.
All right, so if you're in your normal form and you run into the water, you can drown.
Yes, you can.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I wasn't sure about that. I don't play my druid that much.
Yeah, but if
All
you
right,
put your
well,
travel form on and leave it there, then it will automatically change as you go around.
if it's like golf, I'm the winner. But if it's like football, Lorelei's the winner.
I claim winner of diamonds.
Yay.
I'm melee DPS. That's my job to die.
To die.
I don't know if it's scary for you guys for me to have so many deaths when I'm the one that's supposed to be keeping you alive, but it is what
Well,
it is.
I think a lot of those were in my guild when we were on another server. That we had a rogue named Banos. I'm going to call him out on this, and he would always stand by me in the raid fights, and he would always die, and I would just get the splash death because of it. So a lot of those are death by Banos.
Nice. All right, so let's go back. I know I kind of skipped forward a little bit there. Let's go back and talk about our mythic raid. I know Lorelei wasn't there
Heroic.
on Saturday. Or yeah, heroic.
Wants to
You
put
really
mythic
want to get us
raid.
into
really
mythic, don't
want to
you?
do mythics, damn it.
We're gonna have to at some point just to satisfy our raid leader.
We should say it was epic.
That was epic.
One day my wife's going to give me lead, and I'm going to change it. And I know the first thing that's going to happen is Bronzebird's going to go, what? What?
By the first
Well,
boss,
it's about
that'd be
time.
fine.
Are we on
Actually,
mythic?
it would be kind of fun if we do it on the first boss.
I should have thought about it. Seriously, for April Fools, I should have done it. Oh well. But let's go back to heroic, and let's talk about the last boss, High Botanist, and let's kind of hash that out a little bit, because I know we have a lot of listeners that raid with us, so this is really good for them. What do we think the possibility was of getting through that? I mean, because we got them down to 30, them, however you want to say
30.
it. There's like 3 of them, 30% each time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the first poll seemed to have went the best, I thought. The last one, oh man, it was crazy. The last one.
Yeah.
Do we think it's a combination of things? What's your opinion, Jabui?
Well, one thing is the DPS numbers were a little too low amongst too many of the players. I think we had, like every fight has a general threshold of DPS required to kill the boss, and for that one, it's roughly 400k per tune, and or 300, maybe it's 375, 400, somewhere around there, and we had a number of players who weren't quite hitting that amount. We also had a problem with a lot of unnecessary damage being taken. Like players that got caught in certain things and got killed early in the fight. Um, just stuff like that. People had forgotten about the stand next to somebody when they get that debuff, that purpley debuff. I forget what it's called, where you have to stand with someone else, otherwise you cause raid-wide damage, and so that wasn't being organized super well. We were not quite getting the plants down quick enough, but I think again that is in part a DPS issue. Just because we need the DPS to be a little bit stronger. We were missing some of our, at least one of our stronger DPS players. So I think what it really came down to is more of a DPS check and a little bit of unnecessary damage being taken.
Okay. Epistle, you agree or?
Yeah, I think it's both of those things. But just to add why I think those were a problem. If you haven't done it on heroic, the reason we chose to do botanist was because the mechanics are all pretty much the same. So it's not that the fight changes in terms of what's going to happen. It changes in terms of when it's going to happen. The pace really quickens. So sometimes you've got overlap. I can't remember the names of it, but the purple circles on the ground that expand out, and then the brown ones that spiral in. There's a few times that those are going on at the same time, and sometimes lashers were up during that. So it's essentially the same fight, but there's difference in the timers, and so things are just coming fast and furious. So I think that's why people were making more of those mistakes, taking damage. Maybe the lashers weren't going down, DPS dropped a little, was because of those. So I think with more practice we'll improve, but I still think, if we can't avoid the damage, that's just going to create crises for our healers, who I think probably were out of mana.
Yeah, we were getting close. It was I was actually talking to Durag about this after the fight, and part of that is not having the enough DPS. But I mean, we just started that fight too, So as we always do, we have our learning curve, and we'll eventually get it. I have no doubt about that. But yeah, having a little bit, heavier DPS, because did have a strong heal team. All of our major healers were there, or all of our healers were there, and we did start getting a little tight on the mana. I know some of us were getting very low to running out near some of the fights, and we still, as we said, we still are only at 30% health, so we would not have probably made it until the end without being able to get things down a little faster. The flowers were relentless. I mean, I got caught a few times, or actually I think more. They really loved us that night. But yeah, I think the flowers hurt, and we just have to, get used to it. And I can't think of another way of, getting more mana, but just getting stuff down faster, truthfully.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the stats right now for all three wipes, and it's not bad. I mean, we've got some definite high-end DPS that's going on, but I think JoBui hit the nail on the head. If we have to have, what did you say, over 400?
It's about 400k
About
DPS.
400, yeah.
Yeah, and really what it's not so much the 400k DPS. What we need is 200 million out of every DPS for the fight to be, for the boss to get killed. And that's at about 25 players, which is about where we usually run. Is at 25 players. We need about 200 million DPS over the course of the fight from every player, which works out to about 400k.
Right, because your healers don't do any damage, and your tanks, they do some, but not where they need to be.
Right.
I mean, and not to say, I mean, everybody tried their best, so it wasn't a matter of effort for sure.
No, I wasn't trying to imply that at all.
Oh, no, no.
I agree with the pistol that a good portion of the DPS being a little bit lower for some people may have been due to the fact that they were dealing with the mechanics that were coming in quicker, and they're not able to get off their spells or their abilities as quick or as much as they'd like, because they're running around like chickens getting chased by plants, or they're avoiding incoming damage as best they can. And as they get more comfortable with that, they'll be able to output higher DPS as they get more comfortable with the mechanics as quick as they're coming in. So that definitely plays in. I totally concur on that point.
Now, I got to pick up on that image. The idea of people running around like chickens chased by plants. That's
Yeah.
an idea for a new video game.
And having chickens and plants in my yard, it would just scare the bejesus out of me, and I probably wouldn't be able to sleep for a week. Oh, and another note too about the fights is we're still just starting to gather some, heroic gear as well. So,
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
that's
yeah.
going to help as we, upgrade our gear too.
All right. So one of the things, the biggest damage that it did to the entire raid was controlled chaos. And controlled chaos says it's high botanist unleashes several explosions in quick succession at the player's location. Each explosion does 2.2 million arcane damage to all players within 10-yard radius. Is that the big purple one that it does? I'm not sure what controlled chaos is.
I thought the control chaos is the
Oh,
brown
yeah,
one
no.
I was talking about, the
Nope.
outward circles moving inward.
Nope, it is. Nope, because
That's the star
is-
collapse.
That's the solar
Ah.
collapse. Yeah.
Right,
solar
right.
collapse. And that was like number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 down. The biggest one was the purple.
Oh, so people aren't getting out of that would be
The
huge.
purple,
to
Yeah,
avoid
yes.
it's
that
not
one.
moving.
All right, so that pretty much says it right there, because it
Yeah,
does
that's
say
it.
that it increases in size to 20 yards and then 30 yards. So that's the big purple one. So
Right.
And that's all avoidable damage.
Yeah, it
Well,
really
yeah.
is.
Exactly.
So I think what we'll do, just like we did with the with Croesus, which I'm really surprised we didn't go to Croesus. We went to High Botanist instead, which I get, but we practiced on Croesus, and then we didn't go to Croesus.
Well, I think the idea is that with the mechanics not being different, that I didn't think it was going to be a showstopper. And so, I thought we could go in and do High Botanist and get it down because it was all the same mechanics and there wasn't anything to practice. And I thought we would get through it and then go on and do some pulls on Croesus, but we just didn't. We missed Lorelai's input on the fight with High Botanist, actually.
Well, she wasn't there.
Oh,
I wasn't
right.
there Saturday, but
Yeah, she wasn't
Okay.
there Saturday for
in
it.
our
So you
guild,
mean to
we
tell me you
had
think she wouldn't
problems
have?
with that one too, because of just the damage and the number of plants, and we ended up having to make sure that melee that weren't targeted went out and helped take care of the plants as well, especially toward the end of the fight where it just seems like they come up faster and faster.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, they did.
We actually made that change.
We did.
We made that change where we called for the melee to disengage with the boss and engage with the plants, as long as they weren't being chased by them, to go help with the plants because the range just couldn't keep up on them.
See, that's
And-
the Lorelai I
This
know.
way.
Always an informed opinion.
I do have to say, when speaking of the controlled chaos, is the way we have our markers, and the marker I was on last night isn't what I'm usually on. I was like over in the not in the middle, but in the middle of the markers, I guess you could say. And there's a fountain like right there. So the marker was in front of the fountain, and every time that purple stuff would come out, the control chaos, I was run out, and I was always going to hit that fountain. And I'd be like, oh crap, I got to go around the fountain. And by then, I actually got hit by the control chaos a couple times. So I don't know if maybe we need to just look for people like me, where we put those markers and where those little extra, I guess, scenery stuff is.
You know what I do with the purple stuff? Now, granted, I have blink, so that helps me get away quicker. But the path that I take with that is I usually, like, let's say it starts at my marker, right? And I'm gonna have to run really far away from it. I usually run across the map, like towards one of the other sides, one of the other group markers. And instead of running backwards away from it, like outside of the circle, I usually run into the circle, like so that I'm more. So I might, if I'm on one side, I might end up on the opposite side, but at least I'm still in the circle in a range of the boss or other people and that sort of thing.
And I think it's doing something weird, or at least different in heroic than it is on normal. In that, first time I did it on LFR, not even knowing the fight, I just tried that for fun. I thought, oh, purple stuff, avoid it. Had no problem, did that all the way along until last night in our raid, when it seemed like it was behaving differently. It would show up in places I didn't expect it to, and maybe it was expanding just slightly quicker. So whatever it was, I just felt like I had to be on top of that a lot more than I'd ever been.
Yeah,
Did you have more melee Saturday, or
We
was
did
it?
a little
That's
bit.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
probably why, because it's forming on melee, which it doesn't usually do, and that it's harder for a lot more people to get out of it that aren't used to having to get out of it as much.
Especially if we have a lot of them. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I also wonder if because the other mechanics are happening quicker, and like let's say you're just getting done dodging like a solar collapse, and then the purple shows up, and now you're dodging that, maybe it seems a little more hectic to you.
Could be because the solar collapse was probably forming more on the melee than usual too.
Well, the other thing I picked up by looking at these is the plasma. So the plasma is the big orange balls. So what
Right.
it says for plasma is that when the sphere explodes, it inflicts 845,000 fire damage to all players. So when one sphere explodes, 845,000 to everybody. Then for the next 5 seconds, any damage taken by a second plasma explosion is increased by 100%. So we
Yeah.
may want to slow down on that second ball.
Yeah, you have to wait until your debuff goes off before you get to kill the second orb.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I don't think we're doing that now.
No,
now,
we're
those
not.
are the top
Yeah.
two. I'm just talking the top two damages
That's-
that are being is the plasma and the controlled chaos.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point to make, because like we'll call for the first kill, and usually we just call for people to go right after the second one. So I think probably what we'll have to do the next time we try Botanist is just we'll call that first one, and then I usually am the one calling for the attack on the second one, and I'll just wait to call for that until that, and we'll probably announce it before the fight too, like don't attack those until we tell you, kind of thing.
yeah, because we usually do have someone calling those out. Jobui.
So, looking at this, deaths by, well, it's actually killing blows, so that doesn't mean anything. So I was going to say we had 2 deaths by solar collapse, 2 by controlled chaos, or no, I'm sorry, 4 by solar collapse,
Yeah,
2
well,
by controlled chaos, and 2 by plasma explosions. And the 2 plasma explosion deaths were both the tanks, 1 on each. So that got them that plasma explosion. Now, that doesn't mean that was the killing blow on those guys. So that doesn't mean that they died because we did it too quickly. But if you look at the damage taken by ability and the DPS that it did, the top 2 are the plasma explosion and the controlled chaos. So those are the ones we need. If we can feather those up, because it's 25% damage to the entire raid and 21% damage. So if we can take care of that, that's 46% of our damage reduced if we can get those numbers down.
yeah. I think bringing up those plasmas and the 5-second debuff, I wasn't even aware of that, the 5-second debuff. So knowing that should make a good difference.
When we start off on normal, I mentioned it, but it didn't seem to be a big deal because we killed one and we killed the other and left the third one alone. It didn't seem a big deal. Everybody was handling it. But now that we're on Mythic,
You mean heroics?
Heroic.
I wanted to see if you guys are paying attention.
Oh yeah.
We're
yeah,
awake.
Sure.
Damn. I'll get it in there one of these days. It might be a little more, because the third one is melee. And, when you're getting to that point where melee is the biggest problem, you got it down. You're taking care of those avoidable damage. And both the controlled chaos. Now, it's weird because the controlled chaos says there's an instant, and you scroll down further and it's like, I don't know, there's a couple of them in here. 3 of them. They're 3-second casts. So I think what that is after that first initial, and it spans out, it's 3 seconds to span out, 3 seconds to expand out. And those are lower on the totem pole, so it's not as bad. But the biggest one is that first initial. And maybe that's not avoidable. Maybe it's just when it first pops up, it's going to hit everybody. Because it says 224,000 arcane to all players within 10 yards. So no,
run.
it's that first one. It's the first one when it comes down. So we need probably to call that one out when we see it coming up. that it's coming, and then have everybody, just watch their feet and get out of it as soon as possible, because as long as they're in it, that's 224,000 K damage.
Yeah, and you got to remember the healers are running too, so we really don't want to have to heal your butt. So get
Yeah,
moving.
right.
I think with a little cleanup, and also, with people getting a little bit more gear each week, getting a little more powerful, I think we'll be able to get that one down. I just think there's some cleanup, like we're talking about.
I hope
Yeah.
so, because I think Tavern wants to do mythics in like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I can hear that
seriously.
eagerness. Well, my own one question I had was: are people dying though early in the fight? I thought people went pretty long into the fight before we started losing people.
We had, I'm not naming names, but we had one player that died within like the first 30 seconds of 2 of the 3 pulls.
Yeah, that probably didn't help us. But what the reason I'm asking is because I think otherwise most people stayed alive. The only reason I'm mentioning that is that if we're losing people steadily, then I could see there's a problem with DPS. But we are going to have to pull the DPS up still, even with offsetting some of that healing stress.
Absolutely.
Well, personally for me, the flowers were very annoying. I mean, they were spawning on our spot like over and over again. I got caught in the roots a couple times, so that added more. I mean, the flowers for me were just horrendous, and I think that's, we got them down as fast as we could, but I think just being aware of them, when they spawn and running. Because I think at one point I'm like, oh my god, I got these eyes on me. What am I supposed to do? Just out of like, oh my god, there's more flowers. And then I'm like, I know what the eyes are, but I just had a mind fart, I guess you could say. And it's like, just run away from them. They're after you.
And I think
So,
one thing that could help with those too is like, they're gonna most of the time those things seem to spawn at one of our markers on the outer ring, kind of thing, with one of the 3 groups that we have set up, and the range that are on the opposite side, like if you're on the opposite side and you're ranged and those things spawn out of ranged, we kind of have to move. We move forward and get in range of those things to engage them, because they really need to be gotten down quickly.
yeah, and they do spawn fast in heroic. I'm sorry, not mythic, but heroic.
All right. I normally don't call people out, but I am going to call out healing done. So I want to give a good round of applause to our healers. All Taken was first, Tap second, Glory third, Mirma fourth. Who else is there? And Faye was the next. So
Awesome.
that was all of our healers, wasn't it?
Yeah, yep, and Amia. Amia's still gearing
Amia?
up. She's been away for a few weeks.
Yeah, she's a little bit lower down, but
Yep, but she's working on it.
Yep. So that's awesome, guys. I mean, you guys, let's see. All Taken, if I read this right, did 68% of the healing.
Wow.
But
that's pretty
He's
impressive.
amazing. Yeah, he's amazing. I watched
but
that.
you're not far behind Tap. He's at 424 heals per second, and you're at 378. So you guys are right there. Yeah. So that's awesome. Glory's right behind you. I mean, literally right behind you. You're at 13%, 13.9%. He's at 13%. So, yeah. But you're not far away from All Taken either, because he's at 15%. So of the amount of heals. So you guys are awesome healers. I'm impressed with Druid heals. I really am.
Well, we have a really good heal team, and I think I've said that before, and I can't stop saying it. And you look at the numbers this week, but if you look at the ones from last week or the week before, we all kind of, float around those numbers. So we're all going first, second, third, fourth, whatever, and we're just a fantastic heal team, and I think I love it. I think, it's great, and it's great for the raid, and we have a lot of fun, and I can't say enough about the heal team, and I just hope I can, do things to help make it better too.
Yeah, like I said, it's an amazing team, because we wouldn't be able to do what we do if we didn't have awesome healers. So,
thank you. And I think I said thanks, and I think I can say for all of us, thank you very much. And we couldn't do without you guys either.
Well, you could. You'd just be sitting around doing nothing.
I'd be a little bored.
So, all right, guys. We need to move move along a little bit, I do have a fan-asked question, though, that it was kind of a really important question because Joe Bowie mentioned it last podcast, and I forgot to talk about it. He wants to know why Joe Bowie changed to Frost.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Fire is bottom of the barrel DPS single target, and in raid situations, the single target is pretty much the most important. I mean, yeah, there are situations where cleave and AoE, especially cleave and AoE burst, is pretty important as well. Namely, fights like Star Augur, or not Star Augur, Spellblade, Tichondrius, and of course Scorpirion. Those fights have a lot of AoE in them, but the potential, the upward potential of fire is just not there. And looking at the DPS charts on like World of Logs, which is taking the real data from real players that are out there doing these fights, it just didn't have close to what Frost has, as far as single target capabilities, or single target potential. So after much self deliberation and thinking about it a whole lot, I just decided, okay, I've got to take the plunge. I've got to switch to Frost because, as much as I really enjoy playing Fire, I really really love that spec. I love the way it works. I love the effects it has. I love the transmogs that go so well with it, but it didn't have the potential that Frost did, so I had to go back to it. And Blizzard's been doing this with Fire for what seems like ages now, where Fire will be good for a very brief period of time, and then they will just let it fall all the way to the back row, and Frost or Arcane will end up taking a much higher potential over Fire.
You almost said "let it go" in conversation
Yeah.
with Frost. I'm just noticing
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Well,
Use it.
I've had to let it go.
I
So
thought he was going to break out into song.
I was
no,
waiting to.
Well,
I'm not that good at singing the blues. But he also, you know,
well, Joe Bowie, if I can take an expression from New England, your transmog looks really cool, if you pardon the pun.
right? Yeah. Well, and it's not that I'm unfamiliar with Frost. I'm a little unfamiliar with it in this expansion because I've been playing Fire since Legion came out, and I was dead set on sticking with it. I was like, man, I'm sticking with Fire. And Blizzard did throw Fire a bone in a recent hotfix where they gave Fire a 6% increase, but if they wanted to bring it up to parity, they needed to give it up something more like a 15 to 20% increase because it's really far behind. Um, and I'm not even optimal with my Frost spec yet, and I'm already doing about equal or better than I was doing with my Fire spec before with Frost, and I've only been boosting it up for about 2 weeks. So that's why I switched, was the upward potential. Because as a DPS, I feel like I need to squeeze as much out of my tune as possible, especially for my fellow raiders, because I want to see us move forward and I want to see us do better. And I don't really feel like I'd be doing that if I was using a class and spec that is not capable of putting up those numbers that I am capable of doing if I just switch specs.
That's understandable. I mean, you're still up there, as far as top DPS. At least I'm looking at I'm still looking at the high botanist fight.
Right.
But I know you were struggling the last couple of raids, just getting your gear all, revamped up to where you get there.
Well,
But,
I did get a Frost legendary, the first kill this week on raids. One of the better Frost legendaries, the hands, the gloves, and that's a great legendary for Frost, and that helped a bunch. I just got a new relic or a couple of relics that are really good for Frost, and I'll talk a little bit about later the relics in Getting Deeps later, but I've made some serious improvements very very quickly. And then of course it's also like the muscle memory, the getting used to what to cast, when to cast it, and how it all works together, and getting used to that's going to take a little bit of time.
yeah, maybe that could be a title of one of your Getting Deeps, is switching and how difficult or easy it can
Oh
be.
boy.
Yeah,
The
right.
joy of muscle memory.
Oh my gosh, I use that all the time with all my tunes.
All right. Yeah, that's what I do too. I have a G13 and I have it set up exactly the same way for each tune. But
Yep.
anyway, we did say we were going to talk a little bit about 7.2, but we're running really short of time. So let's just pick something about 7.2. I'll let you guys pick your own topic. Jobui, just something about 7.2 that you either learned or this would be helpful for somebody. Go for it.
A really simple one. That it's new to 7.2, I believe. There are now mailboxes in our class halls. And
Oh my
that's a
gosh, I
very
did not know that.
yeah.
Yeah,
There are
yeah.
mailboxes in our class halls now, and they're available like in the mage hall. It's right near the entrance as you come into the mage hall. It's just off to your left as you walk in. Well, after you teleport in, I guess. Uh, and there is one in every class hall now. There's a mailbox.
Wow,
And
we've had them for a long time, actually. I thought they were all in class halls.
No,
I don't think so, because I don't think
Oh,
Mage Hall had
Hunters
a
didn't have
mail.
one.
We didn't.
oh,
The
interesting.
Mage
Yeah,
Hall
I've got one
didn't.
in my. I've had them for a long time in the Druid Hall.
That's just because Blizzard likes druids.
They do right now.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
we
you're
didn't have
right.
any in the
Yep.
Warriors. I'll go back and see if we have one.
Blizzard loves druids.
You should. I think you'll have one now. I haven't double checked on all of my tunes because I have one tune, and well, all of every class. But of all the classes that I've checked, there is now a mailbox in the class hall.
That's
All right.
awesome, though.
Next week, we will report to you guys if there is or if there isn't in every one. Lorelei, 7.2.
Well, the only thing that I've been working on right now is keep working on your world quest, because with this last patch, your Paragon levels with your Legion factions will offer you new mounts. So you've noticed now that with the factions, there's a little sack next to it. And when you get to 10,000, you go turn it in and it'll give you another reward. Well, once you hit 20,000 extra, there's a chance that that bag will contain a special mount for that zone. Like for High Mountain, you'll get a High Mountain Elder Horn, and for the Dreamweavers, thank you, Blizzard, you could get a unicorn, which is what I've wanted since I
Oh.
That's
ran
pretty
into that
cool.
area and saw those flipping unicorns.
Well,
So
you know,
that's what
Oh.
I'm working, and now it makes me want to go out there and do those quests even more.
yeah, because correct me if I'm wrong, but the only unicorn you could get was what was it? It's like
The
a zebra.
tournament. Well, there's one you could get at the tournament back in Northrend, and I got that one. But this is the little white one that runs around.
Well, because
in,
I got one
Azuna.
for bringing a friend into WoW,
Valshar.
and it's it's
the
the
zebra one.
the zebra, yeah, but it's got a unicorn horn on it, but yeah. So are these just ground mounts or are they flying?
I think the Elder Horn is a ground mount. I think they're probably going to be ground mounts. But
The-
the Wardens gives you a cloak, which will let you take on the appearance of a Warden. You don't get a mount from them.
The Valajar have Storm Drakes.
Oh, that's
over in
true.
Stormheim.
That's true. So that
Okay.
one should fly.
All right, so it's possible. Yeah, okay. Epistle 7.2.
Well, I wasn't here last week, so I didn't get to announce that I'd got the flying up and going, and that I was doing it the hard way, but I did manage to pull it off. One of the tips that I think Tapachino told me was to do the Kirin Tor quests in order to get a badge from them, because you could pick. Everyone probably knows already that when you do one of the quests, you can pick a rep token, but you can get a specific one for the new faction and speed up your rep with them. So I did that, and that got me over just in time. So thank you.
Yay.
Yeah, I got mine on Tuesday.
Nice.
So I got a quick question about that. You ever notice there's a 2 in the corner? Does it give
What?
you
Two of the
two
corner
what?
of what?
Yeah, so when you do your champion mission and you try to do it for the rep for the what is it, Legion Fall Armies or whatever?
Yeah.
There's
Well,
a
that-
2.
Well, that's for the higher level ones. The higher level ones will give you 2 rep tokens plus a
It
bonus
does.
token.
Okay, that's what I was curious about, because I saw the
It
2
does.
and I was like, Ooh, I wonder if that gives you two 250
Yeah, and
rep
if you have
tokens.
200% chance on that, or if you get the bonus with lesser chance, then you get a random token that you have to click on, and then it will be a token from one of the different factions. I actually had one of my Legion Fall. I got a Legion Fall 2 tokens, and then my bonus token turned into a Legion Fall as well. So I had like 750 rep from that.
Nice. Yeah, I got it.
Ooh.
Mine's a 176% chance, so we'll see. I got to wait 6 more hours.
I hate the waiting.
No kidding. Who's left? Tapachino, 7.2.
7.2, not only flying, which I absolutely love because I can now get alts up, as well as pick herbs better, but I got a follower legendary called the Pouch of Wonder, and putting it on your combat ally, it grants 50 gold when completing world quests, and you also get artifact power tokens when completing world quests as well. And at first I thought, well, they buffed it a lot. I guess the Pouch of Wonders used to give you like a ton of artifact power, and they buffed it down so that you wouldn't get so much. So I was getting like 44,800, I think. But I noticed when you upgrade your artifact knowledge and your traits there, I guess you'd call it, the ranks purchased and stuff, or did the artifact research, that increased how much artifact power that the pouch would give you when you completed world quests. So that was pretty cool. Didn't even actually realize it was around, and was able to get it, and I think it's pretty cool. I don't mind gold and extra artifact power, no matter what
I've
the level.
I've been diligently trying to get a Pouch of Wonder, and I am enormously jealous of yours.
I know I felt bad for you, Jubu, because I'm like, oh, I got this like pouch, and he's like, what? The Pouch of Wonder? And I'm like, yeah, what is this? And
What?
me being like oblivious to it.
Yeah,
No.
I've been sending my champions out on missions to try and get the bonus champion armament thing because it can come out of those, and been cycling my champion armaments in my class hall like constantly in the attempt to get one of those Pouch of Wonders. I want one very, very badly.
So you don't want to know that I've got one, right?
You got one too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's Jobui's luck, right? I mean,
Well, I
that's
thought
how it works.
Yep.
I mean,
it was funny because the quest turn-in was on the broken island there,
well,
in a
that guy.
building that I didn't even expect to. I thought it would be in a mission if it was going to be anywhere.
I don't think that's a quest turn in so much as I think that's because I found that guy you were talking about, and I think he's just like tied to one of the buildings. That when the building comes up, you can go in there, and he'll be standing in there, and he'll just give you one of the legendary ones. Because I found him, and he gave me a legendary champion artifact or champion equipment, not the one I wanted, but he gave me one. Or he gave me a box that opened up, and it was a legendary champion armament in there, like the Pouch of Wonders.
Yep, that's what I did. Was he had given me something to open, and that's what was inside of it.
Yeah, and I think he comes with one of the buildings, but I'm not sure which yet. I haven't figured that out yet.
Well, he was in the building for the Mage Tower with all the portals in it. So he
Yeah,
was
but
like off to the side, but I don't know if that's
Mhm.
what he spawned in.
No, I think he comes. I think he comes with either the Neither Disruptor or the command center, but I'm not 100% on that yet. But it was a blue mission quest icon above
Yes.
his head, so
Yep,
that
it
is
was.
repeatable. So I assume the next time he shows up, he'll give me something else, and maybe he'll give me a Pouch of Wonder.
We will pray for you, Joey.
All right, cue the music. It's time for Lorelei's Pet Battle Minute.
Hi, it's Lorelei, and this is your Pet Battle Minute. Today, I want to talk about the Broken Isle pet tamer, the Nameless Mystic. And what you will need to do to get him down is bring along a leveling pet if you'd like, because you can actually take this boss down with only 2 pets. So in your first slot, put in a leveling pet, and it can be a level 1. Your second slot should be your mechanical Pandaren Dragonling with breath and decoy. It doesn't matter about the other attack because those two are going to take down the first two pets on the other guy's side. And then finish up with, if you have Sid the Squid, that's a good pet, but you can use any water pet that will give you water jet or bubble or at least a cleansing rain, something to help their healing. So you start off with your leveling pet. You can use an attack and then switch right out to your Dragonling. Put up decoy and then spam breath. And your first battle pet to fight against is Fido. He'll go down very quickly. And then rinse and repeat, and with the Searing Eye, which is the next pet, or Searing Eye, and you'll have two pets down. You can finish up with your Dragonling. He's going to go down pretty quick when the Flickering Fell comes up. He's not very good against fire pets. But bring out Sid, pop your bubble, and then do Cleansing Rain, and then water jet him till he's down. And you'll be able to level your pet that way. So don't forget to put your safari hat on and give him any little doggy treats before you fight, because you'll be able to level him up pretty quickly.
Very cool. Getting deeps with JobUui.
Okay, a decent bump in your DPS could be just a matter of choosing the right relics for your class and spec. A relic with the right artifact trait bonus effect can make a huge difference over one with the wrong trait bonus. As an example, if you're playing a mage and you have a relic that gives you a bonus to how powerful your shield is, that effect isn't going to help you at all with your DPS. However, having a strong DPS-based effect will improve those numbers. The item level of your relic also directly affects the item level of your artifact weapon. An 885 item level artifact relic will give your artifact weapon plus 53 item levels, where a 780 item level artifact relic will only give your item 24 item levels. So sacrificing a relic with a high item level for one with a low item level, but a good trait, is probably not a good plan. However, sacrificing an item level or two on your artifact weapon for a particularly good bonus trait could improve your DPS. Getting the right relics isn't necessarily the easiest thing to do. You could run dungeons or raids and hope for the right drops from the right bosses. That's one way to do it. However, Blizzard has provided a new way that makes it much easier to get the traits you're looking for: relinquished relics from the vendor on the Broken Shore. For 5,000 Nether Shards, you can get a token that will give you an 880 plus random relic for your class and spec. If you don't get the right effect that you're looking for, just keep trying, and eventually you'll hit the relic lottery and get one with just the right effect, and it might even get Titan Forged for you. To find out what bonus trait effect is best for your class and spec, do some looking around on places like Icy Veins, Ask Mr. Robot, and class-based forums. You could even ask other players on the official Blizzard WoW forum for help in figuring out what's right for you. So good luck out there and keep getting those deeps.
Woohoo!
Very cool.
I love
Pistol.
relics. They're usually shiny.
Squirrel.
My favorite so far was Khadgar's hand warmer. That was my absolute favorite relic that I got. I don't even remember the effect on it. It came from one of the Suramar quests, and it was literally called Khadgar's hand warmer.
Yeah, I don't want to know what that is. All right, epistles, come at me. A taking minute.
Okay, this week for Come At Me a Tanking Minute, we're going to be talking briefly about positioning, or the tanking dilemma I call, should I stay or should I go? I know when I first began tanking, the most stressful decision when you come to a fight, especially if you don't know much about it, is where should I tank the boss? So is there a place in the room that's got kind of an advantage? And then once the fight begins, the real stress comes in about, should I stay here and tank the boss, or should I move him away somewhere else or her away somewhere else because of some mechanic that could wipe the raid if I'm not on top of it? So let me break down fights into kind of 5 categories. I'm sure people could see this differently, but the way I see it is, number 1 is the basic tank and spank. If you ever hear somebody say that about a boss fight, it's you move in, the tank sits somewhere and does not move. You could call it easy mode. You could also call it incredibly dull mode. Spellblade Allurial for tanks is actually somewhat like this. We don't really move a great deal throughout that whole fight. So from a tanking perspective, it's a little less interesting in some ways. All the other mechanics for everybody else makes it interesting for us. But more famously, Dia and Hellfire Citadel, you've heard me complain about her because that was a sit and just practice in, tanking and spot. And not really very interesting. So Blizz has done a good job of throwing in all kinds of different variety to keep us on our toes and awake. There's the other version I like to call Tank and Spank with ads. Also a pretty easy mode, like Scorpion. That's one where if you got your position, you go into the middle, tank the boss. You need to move a little around to keep a debuff from setting up on you if you're the main tank. But it's, just get the main boss and then any little ads that pop around. So Tank and Spank with ads, again, fairly straightforward. If you're in either of those kinds of fights, you just have to kind of be aware of what's around you, and it's not too difficult a fight. It gets more interesting, though, what I call the phases or patterns fights. And these are ones that are kind of like you need to go to position A, position B, position C, or in the case of something like Trilliax, you're working a circle. You might go one direction or the other direction, and you have to kind of work all that out. But there is some level of predictability. Star Augur is in some ways that kind of phase fight as well. Some of it's standing in the middle and some of it's running around through a pattern or moving around. Those aren't too difficult to, if you know that's what you're doing. But if you don't know your pattern, that's where raids get wiped. So you definitely have to know when you've got to move, when it's absolutely critical to the fight that you're going to not stay in position, you're going to run out. One of the classic ways of this, of course, what I call the tank alternating mode. And this is, I could have put it earlier, it's also dead easy mode. It's where something happens to one tank. If it stays in position, it's going to blow up and do a lot of damage or kill people. Elisand is a good example of that right now from Nighthold. You get a debuff in the second phase, you have to run out, or it creates a lot of damage for people, and it's kind of a basic back and forth. And just one more technique they put into the mix. But again, it's one of those things, if you're standing there and you think, oh, I'm getting a little warning, I've got to do something, you should definitely go. You should not stay, because people will not be thanking you for it. Okay, and finally, there's what I call the chaotic fights. That's where there isn't the same kind of predictable pattern. There may be an area you want to keep the boss in, but it's a on your feet, run, move fight, because there's debuffs that get dropped, and you have to constantly be moving to make sure that they don't, again, wipe the raid. We were talking a lot about High Botanist tonight, and that would be one of those examples of chaotic ones where from the beginning of the fight, you just got to assume you're going to have to move and move and move. And really, sometimes melee are busy trying to do damage to the boss and aren't always necessarily walking around. And I think it really does follow that the tank has to be the most vigilant on that one and ready to move the boss at the drop of a hat, so everyone else knows the boss is moving and need to go. Because you can sometimes just pull melee right out because, hey, they want to stay on the boss. They'll move with you. And if you're saving their life by moving them out of danger, they'll thank you. On the other hand, you run them into it, not so much. So it's one of those things, should I stay or should I go?
Very cool.
Bon,
I was
bon,
waiting
bon.
for you to break out in song, too.
I will not sing on this podcast and injure our good listeners' ears.
Tapachino, tap into the healing minute.
Hello, well, so last week we discussed heal assignments in our Tap into the Healing Minute. This week I'd like to talk a little bit about when you're going to be using your heal assignments, or when you're going to be using your major cooldowns, rather. When you go into a fight, you have to know when the boss is going to generate a lot of damage. So, for instance, in the Chronomatic Anomalies fight in the Nighthold raid, he does what's called Power Overwhelming, which deals an insane amount of arcane damage to all players, and he does this in pulses. And each time he pulses, it increases the damage by 15% for each burst. So during that phase, this is when you're going to want to call out your big healing cooldowns, hitting the tranks. The healing leader may say, okay, so-and-so, you hit your trank, and may call for one immediately thereafter. But there's instances, too, where you as a healer says, well, maybe the healing raider is not on top of it, or maybe he's distracted, or he or she is distracted by something else, and I'm going to hit my healing cooldown now. And you know what? And don't be afraid to do that if you know the raid well and you know the team, because sometimes that happens where, you know, you're just going to have to hit your cooldown, which, you know, it happens, and that you just want to make sure that the raid stays alive. That's more important than seeing, you know, everybody die. So if you're not sure about when those big damage fights are going to happen, you know, you can look on some of the resources that we've talked about on YouTube. You know, Blizzard also has a, you know, a great adventure guide right in game where you can look up the boss and see what kind of damage the boss does, what kind of abilities it has. There's also, you know, warnings for healers and for tanks and DPS on, hey, you know what? This spell's going to come down and you guys have to be ready for it. You know, so just, you know, be aware of those situations and you know your fights. That's the important thing. Know your fights. See when the big damage is going to come, because you may be hitting those, you know, cooldowns or those big healing spells on the fly without any direction, and you just want to stay alive and keep on trucking. So
Screw
you want to
RNG.
hit the boss, da da da. You want to keep the tank alive, da da da. Well, you
Definitely
can't
mix
do
part of that in.
both.
Wait, are we getting into burlesque now?
I'm leaving that in there. I'm totally leaving that in there. Well, you know, there was a study done that said 99.99% of all deaths are caused from lack of hit points.
That's probably good.
All right. WFN News, Warcraft Fafford News. Guys, Friday is a very important day. Friday is Volunteer Guard Duty Day.
Can't wait.
Ooh.
So go up to a guard in Stormwind, your favorite city, and salute that guard and show them you care.
Oh, nice.
Tuesday also starts the Time Walking quest, and it's Wrath of the Lich King.
Woohoo! My
Go back and
I like
visit those
those.
famous ones. Yes, those are all good. And as of the day that this broadcasts, you have one more day to complete your World Quest bonus event, which is 20 World Quests completed, and you get 5,000 resources for it. So get out there and get those quests done. Look forward to Time Walking and Volunteer Guard Duty on Friday.
Get to look like a guard?
You know, I was hoping everybody would just go find out on their own because I don't have a clue.
Okay.
I'm going to guess that maybe it turns you into the look of the guard if you salute them. Or maybe they just snap to attention and salute you back. Who knows? I don't know. But it's Volunteer Guard Duty Day, so I bet you that you're going to be looking like a Stormwind guard or maybe an Ogrimmar guard. Who knows? Go check it out. But we're Alliance, so we don't care if you look like an Ogrimmar guard. All right, guys, that's got to be our time limit. So we'll see you all next week, and hopefully, guys, we'll have some more fan-based questions, maybe some solutions to our dilemmas. But thanks, everybody, for coming. We'll see you all next week.
Fun as
Thank
always.
you.
Next
and
week.
Thanks,
Thank you
folks.
for your patience.
If you like this podcast, throw us a like and subscribe to our channel. And please, leave comments or questions below. Maybe we'll answer them on the air next podcast. We are hosted on Podomatic.com. Our website is lionspridetavern.podomatic.com. Our podcast also airs on iTunes for Apple users, Google Play for Androids, and YouTube. Just search World of Warcraft Lions Pride Tavern Podcast. See you next week, and thanks for listening.